On this first Sunday of Lent, every year we listen to the temptations of Jesus. And this year, in the Catholic liturgy, we are following the year C cycle. And so the Gospel of today comes from Luke chapter 4, verses from 1 to 13. And very similar to the Gospel of Matthew, Luke as well brings out the three temptations of Jesus. The three temptations of Jesus revolve around the three pillars that we struggle with in our own life. The three P's that lead us to sin: pleasure, possessions, and power. If we examine ourselves, our sinfulness and our sinful acts would revolve around one of these or combinations of these: pleasure, possessions, and power. The devil appears to Jesus and says, "If you are the Son of God, turn this stone into bread." Immediate gratification, lack of self-regulation, that is the temptation. That falling into that temptation means you become a victim of pleasure principle. Second temptation, the devil tells Jesus, "If you worship me, I will give you all these, all that your eye can see." Possessions. We replace or displace the position of God in our lives with something else that is a creature, that is a created being, that is idolatry. That is a sin of being possessed by possessions. And Jesus reminds himself, "You shall worship the Lord your God and none other." That is how Jesus overcomes that temptation to possessions. Power. If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down. Show that you are in control. But Jesus says, do not put the Lord your God to the test. Uphold the power of God in your life and realize that you are not powerful. That is the way to overcome that temptation of power. So, pleasure, possessions, power, the three principles around which our own temptations revolve. Now, what is the antidote to these three temptations in our own life? If we go back to the Gospel of the Ash Wednesday from Matthew chapter 6, Jesus has already given us the program of life that we can use to overcome the three temptations. When you fast, Jesus said, do not parade. Do not go with faces that show that you're fasting. So fasting is the antidote to the temptations of pleasure. So what is happening in fasting? Self-regulation, which is the antidote to immediate gratification. Possessions. Jesus invites us to give alms. That is the second principle that was proposed to us as a program of life and a program during Lent in the Gospel of the Ash Wednesday, giving alms. So when I give alms, what am I saying to myself? That I am not led by the principle of possessions. I can make a sacrifice of these possessions and to enhance the life of another person. And when you pray, the third antidote to the principle of power in our lives and to overcome the temptation to power. That when I pray, I am simply submitting myself to someone who is more powerful, God. And therefore, really our prayer should become a prayer of surrender. We have our temptations as Jesus had his temptations. to pleasure, possessions, and power, we have our antidotes using fasting, almsgiving, and praying. Let the season of Lent continue for us as a journey that marks us an inward journey, an upward journey, and an outward journey.